Hello, everyone. Eddie here again. And as of this recording, the federal shutdown of the government has been averted, with the House passing a funding bill and the Senate approving it, passing it, and the president signing it. So, shutdown averted. So, um, I really wanted to talk about the federal employees and federal agencies that were facing that shutdown. As I've said in previous videos, that I'm actually a federal employee, so I'm somewhat a little biased or look at them favorably. But during this whole shutdown scare, a lot of agencies were making preparations for a shutdown. And it got me to thinking that one of the pet peeves I have is how people who are not federal employees, I kind of feel like they kind of look down on federal employees or view federal employees as in cushy jobs that, or that this is the one I love hearing that, my federal tax dollars pay your salary, and so you shouldn't be slacking off, or, you know, the federal agencies, should be able to manage their budget, or they don't need all of that money. Insert whatever there, and I've heard a lot of it, but the reason that this kind of irritates me is that I just want to explain a little bit as to what was going on behind the scenes as the shutdown was looming. So, most agencies, pretty much all agencies, were having meetings with their employees from their supervisors down and basically telling employees that there are two classifications in the event of a shutdown. You have the essential employees and then you have the non essential employees. And in the event of a shutdown, the essential employees will continue to work while the non essential employees will get furloughed, which basically means they no longer are allowed to work, they must go home, and they can't do any work and they have to wait to be recalled to work. So, what's the difference between essential and non essential? Because for the most part, mostly all of the employees are essential, but for classification for most agencies, essential employees are those employees who actually interface with the public. So they're doing something that they're visibly being seen by the public or visibly helping the public, talking to the public, things of that nature. The non-essential employees are people who don't necessarily interface with the public, but they support the people who do interface with the public. So that's the two camps. So before I jump into how this all ties up, I want to talk about federal employees versus non-federal employees. And again, these are just my thoughts, my opinions, my views. But most federal employees will tell you that if they go to the private sector, they would make significantly more money. It would probably be more demanding, and more than likely, they will command more money and have probably a more stress. But you know, you have those that they really do value and cherish and go after the almighty dollar because they want the money to take care of their family or whatever it is. So their focus is money. When you get to like the federal or government employees, it's more out of a sense of civic duty or service. Sure, you're not making as much money, but you're actually helping the public. You're doing functions that need to be done that are important and vital to the welfare of people, your neighbors, your fellow Americans. as opposed to the private people who, just doing it for the almighty dollar or the profits, for the stakeholders, or so the business will soar. And I'm not necessarily dinging it, but I'm just saying one is more about service and helping, whereas the other one is kind of like pure capitalism. You know, just I don't necessarily want to say greed, but just making profits. So bringing it back to federal employees, a lot of the private sector people seem to think that the federal people have it easy, and that they should not be complaining. They have cush jobs. They get all these different holidays off. They get sick leave, and they get to do all of this, and so they shouldn't be working like that. So I just want to be really clear that if a furlough was to happen, and I'm going to point to certain agencies, this is what happened. Certain agencies would be considered, or certain employees, as I said, would be considered essential and would be required to work. These would be your TSA workers who would screen you. These would be some of the zookeepers who watch the zoos, or the park rangers who watch for the safety and monitor. Some of the food health inspectors. The difference is that these essential people who are required to work do not get paid. They get a promise that whenever the budget is reached, they will get paid, but while they're working, they do not get paid. And so I can't speak for everyone who's a private sector person, but I'm pretty sure the majority of the people who work in the private sector would not work and not get paid. I'm pretty sure they would have a problem working and getting paid. But oh wait, they are gonna get paid eventually. So even though they're gonna get paid eventually, guess what? We live in a capitalistic society. And again, not docking it. I think capitalism is a good thing. But we live in a capitalistic society, so the federal employees still have mortgages to pay, still have groceries to buy, still have to fill up their gas tank in order to get to work. They want to buy Christmas gifts for their kids. They want to provide for their family, but they have no income coming in. And if a person can't get something, if the person has to wait longer in a TSA checkout line, or, the food, there might be a problem or issue with the food, some of the public doesn't care that these federal employees are suffering, are out of a sense of duty doing the work and not getting paid. And so that's what really irritates me the most, is because there's the expectation, go ahead and work through it, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people who work for the private sector would not be so altruistic to do that. And again, this is just my opinion, but you know who else is a federal employee? Our military. You know who's essential? Our military. You know who doesn't get paid during a shutdown? Our military. And they're literally putting their lives on the line. Again, I think the people who are quick to ding or knock or just talk about federal employees, I think if the shoe was on the other foot, they would not be as altruistic as federal employees. So I'm just trying to figure out, what am I missing? Why there is so much just bad attitude towards federal employees who are trying to help their fellow neighbors. Because disaster relief, like FEMA, you know, I never hear anyone saying, like, we should shut down FEMA when FEMA is going to help during some type of disaster. So, I mean, again, this is just this is just kind of one of those little things that just kind of gets my goat, in that I just feel like, it's easy to point at someone and say, you got it easy. You're not really doing the hard job or the hard work. No, federal work is hard work, and you usually don't get paid as much as our private sector counterparts, but it's still important. That cybersecurity personnel would probably make double the amount they make as opposed to federal employee, but they're keeping your data safe, your data that's needed safe. Or would you just want someone who only cares about the profits of the shareholder in charge of protecting your data? I don't know. Again, I think I'm missing something, but I'm not sure what am I missing. But again, it's just my thoughts. If you have anything to share, please put it in the comment section. And once again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart to watching the video. And if you continue to watch, I will continue to create. Thank you and take care.